Last week, we told the story of the original Sith Empire, a great and terrible civilization forged by students of the dark side. For 2,000 years, the Dark Lords of the Sith ruled over this empire with an iron fist, subjugating over 100 worlds. When we left off, the year was 5000 BBY, and it was the zenith of the golden age of the Sith, an era of prosperity ushered in by the great Dark Lord Marka Ragnos, who ruled for over a century. But later that year, Ragnos died, and during his funeral, the course of Sith history changed forever. That day, a ship from the Republic arrived in Sith space, the spark of the first great war between the Sith and the Republic. The story we'll be telling today.
Attention, Sergeant on deck!
5,000 years before the Battle of Yavin, the Sith Empire was at a crossroads. It was wealthy and powerful, and its rule over the Sith worlds was absolute. But thanks to the Stygian caldera, the ring of nebulae that surrounded Sith space, it was unable to expand and it had grown stagnant. Some of the Sith Lords were content to continue business as usual, to enjoy the stability Marka Ragnos had given them, but others were growing eager to expand, to seek new territories to conquer beyond the caldera. The former faction was led by Ludo Kressh, the Lord of Relg, one of the oldest and most important worlds in the Empire. Kressh was a traditionalist, and he feared that a new age of expansion could bring ruin to the Empire, inviting invasions from enemies not even the Sith could hope to defeat. Kressh was one of the most powerful lords on the Sith Council, and he would have been a lock for the title of Dark Lord of the Sith were it not for Narga Sadow, his equally powerful rival. Sadow was the leader of the Sith's expansionist faction. He believed the Empire had to either expand or die, and he saw Kresh's conservatism as cowardly complacency. Sadow's seat of power was the frigid planet Kar Delbar, and while Kressh was a favorite of the Kisai priests, Sadow was a populist, an unusual trait for an ancient Sith Lord, winning him the loyalty of the Masasi warrior caste. Kressh and Sadow didn't even wait for Marka Ragnos to be buried to begin their contest for the throne on Ziost. Kressh snubbed Sadow by starting the funeral without him, and the tomb doors had barely been closed before the two drew their swords and fought. But their battle was interrupted by the spectre of Ragnos himself, who reminded the two of the history of the Sith Empire and warned that a time of great change was at hand. What he meant soon became apparent as an alien ship appeared in the skies above Korriban. This ship was a small hyperspace scouting vessel known to history as Starbreaker 12. It landed right in the middle of the Valley of the Dark Lords, much as the ship of the exiled Dark Jedi had 2,000 years earlier. Its landing doors opened and out walked two young humans, a man and a woman who claimed to come in peace from the Galactic Republic. Their names were Gav and Jory Daragon, brother and sister hyperspace explorers from the Koros system in the deep core. They had fled poverty and trouble with bounty hunters aboard their scout ship, and thanks to their untrained force sensitivity, they had made a blind jump all the way from Koros Major to Korriban, from the deep core to the outer rim. In doing so, they changed the course of galactic history. The Daragon siblings were taken prisoner by the untrusting Sith the moment they stepped off their ship, and the Sith Lords immediately split on what to do with them. Ludo Kressh wanted them executed immediately, fearing that they were the vanguard of a Republic invasion. Narga Sadow, however, hoped that they could be used to lead the armies of the Sith back to Republic space, where there were thousands of new worlds to conquer. The Daragons were imprisoned in the Sith Citadel on Ziost, while the Sith Lords debated in the council chambers above. Sadow made an impassioned plea for the assembled Lords to seize the opportunity that had presented itself, but ultimately, the council sided with Ludo Kressh. The Daragons were to be executed. But Narga Sadow was unwilling to let Kressh have the last word. He had some of his Masasi steal a set of blasters from the Starbreaker 12 and use them to raid the Citadel's dungeons, freeing the Daragons and making the whole thing look like a Republic attack. To top it all off, Sadow murdered the Sith Lord Simus, his own mentor, with one of the blasters, hoping that it would be enough to convince the other lords to join him in war with the Republic. Sadow had the Daragons brought back to Car Delba, and then he returned to the council chambers as news of the attack arrived, feigning ignorance. Shaken by the suddenness and ferocity of the attack, the Sith Council voted to make Naga Sadow the new Dark Lord, eager for revenge on the Republic. But Ludo Kressh refused to accept Sadow's victory. Two of the other Sith Lords, Horak Mul and Dor Galram, still secretly supported him, and Kressh had them quietly gather their fleets at his stronghold on Relg. As Naga Sadow returned to Car Delba to prepare his own fleet for the coming war, Kressh and his allies attacked, bombarding Sadow's forces from orbit. But they had fallen into a trap. Sadow's fortress on Car Delba was a decoy. His true stronghold was hidden in a crater on the dark side of Car Shian, Car Delba's moon, and he had rallied the bulk of his fleet there. As Kressh, Galram, and Horak Mul pressed the attack, Sadow's fleet attacked them from behind. The Dark Lord then struck the most devastating blow of all. On his command, the Masasi crew of Garm-Rem and Horak Mul's fleets rose up and murdered their lords, taking control of their ships for Naga Sadow. Ludo Kressh was forced to retreat. Now unopposed, Sadow ordered all the military forces of the Sith Empire to rally at Chodos, the stronghold of Shah Dakan, Sadow's closest ally on the council. He planted a tracking device on the Starbreaker 12 and then allowed Jory Daragon to escape back to the Republic, while he kept Gav with him. Sadow had started to train Gav in Sith techniques, hoping to shape him into an apprentice. He preyed on Gav's resentment over the poverty he and his sister had endured back in the Republic, promising to free the galaxy from the tyranny of the Senate. As a sign of trust in the naive young man, Sadow assigned Gav command of one of his war fleets, promising him the honor of liberating his home system from the Republic. Before long, every fleet in the Sith Empire had been assembled, and Sadow declared that the time had come. The fleets of the Sith jumped to hyperspace, following the Daragon's route back to the Republic. This route took them right into the galaxy's heart, giving the Sith a clear shot at Coruscant itself. Upon exiting hyperspace, Sadow didn't waste any time. He divided up his massive armada and ordered his fleet commanders to launch attacks all over the Republic, hoping to catch the Republic Navy and the Jedi off guard. The two greatest Sith fleets were led by Gav Daragon and Shah Dakan, intended for the Koros system and Coruscant respectively. On Gav Daragon's command, the vanguard of Sadow's fleet split up and attacked each of the 7 worlds of the Koros system, with the largest assigned to Koros Major. While Gav's fleet kept Republic forces in the Koros system occupied, Shah Dakan led the rest of the armada up the Koros trunk line to Coruscant. There, Dakan led an all-out assault on the Galactic capital, while other Sith fleets spread out from Coruscant, attacking Thoros, Metalos, Basilisk, Ixtlar, Shulkin, and Thokos. Other Sith fleets spread further across the Republic, attacking numerous worlds and causing tremendous amounts of chaos. So began the Great Hyperspace War of 5000 BBY, the first true galactic-scale war since the formation of the Republic. As Sadow had hoped, the Sith caught the Republic Navy by surprise, allowing them to make major headway. Within hours, Sadow seemed poised to capture the core. Even on Coruscant, where the Republic's greatest fleet and a small army of Jedi Knights was gathered, the Sith had the advantage. Shah Dakan led seemingly endless armies of Masasi and warbeasts against the Senate Hall itself, while thousands of Sith battleships and missile frigates rained death and destruction from above, deploying new drop pods of ground troops all the while. But not everything was going according to Sadow's plan. One Jedi Knight, Odan-Urr, had foreseen the impending Sith assault in a dream. He tried to warn the Senate to no avail, but he ultimately succeeded in rallying the Jedi. Additionally, Empress Teta, the ruler of the Koros system, believed Odan-Urr's warnings and had prepared a great war fleet in her home system in advance. Thus, even as the Sith swept across the heart of the core worlds, they found the Koros system a harder target than anticipated. On top of this, Gav Daragon abandoned his command post in the middle of the battle, traveling down to the city of Sinagar and Koros Major to find his sister. There, after a confrontation with Giorgi and glimpses of the damage the Sith attack had done to the city, Gav realized that Naga Sadow cared nothing about liberating the galaxy from Republic injustice, and that had been tricked. Gav fled back to his command ship, which he took to the nearby unstable red supergiant Primus Golud. Above Primus Golud, Naga Sadow had set up his command ship, a Sith meditation sphere. This unusual craft was designed to channel the power of arcane Sith rituals, broadcasting Naga Sadow's Sith magic across hyperspace. There, Naga Sadow had been coordinating the entire Sith war effort and bolstering its strength via obscure Sith techniques. Hoping to break Sadow's concentration, Gav fired on the meditation sphere, and in an instant, much of the Sith Empire's armies vanished. As it turned out, most of Sadow's fleet had been composed of illusions conjured up by Sadow's arcane rituals. Once the illusions disappeared, it became apparent that the Sith had overextended themselves and were, in fact, badly outnumbered. The Republic Navy led a counterattack against Sith forces from Anaxis, while the Jedi rallied the defenders of Coruscant and the other beleaguered Republic worlds. One by one, the Sith fleets began to retreat in disarray. Shah Dakan was forced to abandon the assault on Coruscant, and thanks to the sacrifice of Jedi Master Uru, Sith forces were driven from the Koros system as well. They all fell back to Primus Golud. Empress Teta's fleets, with Giorgi Daragon in tow, pursued them, and Naga Sadow realized that his gambit had failed. He reached out to Gav and challenged him to a final battle aboard the meditation sphere, only to sabotage the ship and retreat to one of his battleships as Gav boarded. Sadow took command of his secondary flagship, the battleship Corsair, and left Gav trapped on the meditation sphere. Aboard the Corsair, Sadow used a powerful dark side weapon to destabilize Primus Golud's core, hoping to use the resultant supernova to kill Gav and cover the retreat of his armada back to the Sith Empire. But Gav sent Empress Teta the coordinates of the Daragon Trail before he was killed by the explosion, and the Republic fleet followed Sadow home. The tattered remains of Sadow's invasion force regrouped above Korriban, only to find another Sith fleet waiting for them. This fleet was under the command of none other than Ludo Kressh, who, in Sadow's absence, had claimed the title of Dark Lord of the Sith and taken control of Ziost. Beside himself with fury, Naga Sadow ordered what remained of his forces to engage Kresh's fleet. Above Korriban, what remained of the military might of the Sith Empire destroyed itself. Sadow's ships were ultimately able to destroy Ludo Kresh's flagship, killing the would-be Dark Lord and scattering his remaining followers. But the battle had only just ended when Empress Teta arrived in system with a fleet of Republic warships, which immediately opened fire on Sadow's remaining vessels. Sensing that his fleet was doomed, Sadow ordered the Massassi on his remaining ships to take command and fight to the death. They did so, covering the Dark Lord while he fled Sith space aboard the Corsair. Republic ships pursued, but Sadow managed to lose them in the Denari system, and he and his Massassi ultimately settled on a hereto unknown jungle moon far from Republic space. There, on the fourth moon of Yavin, Sadow hoped to wait out the storm even as the rest of the Sith Empire fell to ruin. But that's a story for another time, namely next week when we continue our series on the history of the Sith. But what do you think? Are you enjoying this series so far? If you were a Sith Lord, would you have supported Naga Sadow or Ludo Kressh? Feel free to post your thoughts in the comments section below. And as always guys, thank you so much for watching, and we hope to see you in the next installment of this series.